That's when the footage of a nuclear explosion appeared on everyone's TV screens. Me, dude. Dude! Today's episode is brought to you by Surfshark, the VPN browser extension and app that keeps you safe and private on the internet, while also allowing you unlimited access to content no matter where you are located, which is brilliant. More on them in a bit. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. This is the show where Kevin, thank you Kevin, has written me a script which is titled The Most Controversial Political Ad Campaigns in History. Let's go. Politicians can get nasty. Sadly, political ad campaigns are a pretty modern creation. It would have been fun to be able to look at some political slander from ancient times, but for much of human history, either you were the son of the ruling despot or monarch, or you just weren't. I can only imagine how intense the smear campaigns against someone like Henry VIII would have been if he had to run for re-election. Quote, King Henry hath murdered his wives, for he weren't virile enough to produce a male heir. Shall we allow such a corpulent adulterer and his fruitless seed to further plunge our great nation into disgrace and ruin? Stay not in your abode, come November, gather ye to the polls, and elect ye Thomas Fitzgerald, 10th Earl of Kildare, as the rightful King of England, paid for by the House of Tudor. It's legit. I'd love to see that. Democracy's better than kings. Sometimes. Most of the time, but not always.
We're losing our democracy! Wake up! Wake up!
If I was king, it would be better for everybody. Just make me king of the world. It'll be fine. No elections, no nonsense like that. Just autocratic power. Be a dream. But once democracy reached the shores of America, it didn't take long for elections to fly completely off the handle. Insults, slander, and inflammatory claims were all par for the course. In the 1828 presidential race, supporters of John Quincy Adams referred to Andrew Jackson as a gambling, brawling, murdering slave trader. Fucking hell. Murdering? He did murder. Wasn't he like in a duel or something and he shot someone to death? Which I guess makes him a murderer, which is intense. He was president, and he slave traded, apparently. Holy shit, Andrew Jackson.
I demand satisfaction.
That wasn't actually controversial, though. It was just a statement of fact, and Jackson had the bullet wounds from his numerous duels and bar fights to prove it. However, not all claims made by political campaigns are so indisputable. Whether they are inaccurate, misleading, or downright defamatory, political ads have a tendency to stir controversy. The election of 1800. The United States election of 1800 was, for lack of a better term, a total fucking shit show. It was the first presidential election in which the incumbent president was running against his own vice president to retain control of the office. That's getting stabbed in the back, isn't it? That's a full-on backstab. Would you like to be my vice president? Yes, please. You're I'm gonna be president! This was possible thanks to the bizarre system where whichever candidate got the most votes became president and second place became vice president. Oh, I see. So it's different to how it was in the past. It's not like, do you want to be vice president? It's like, you literally, the vice president is the guy you were running against. Which that's got to make making decisions quite difficult, right? Although I guess it encourages people to play a bit. Do they probably just don't even see each other. They're probably just like, I'm just going to hang out here and wait till you die or something happens to you, okay?
Why won't you die?
We have since replaced it with more sensible concept of running mates. It was a pretty wild ride for a while. This is also the first time we saw candidates go negative with both men campaigning behind the scenes and in the press. Technically, most of the campaigning was handled by interested parties as the candidates themselves didn't really campaign back then, but we don't need to get into any of that minutiae. These two did not hold back. Jefferson's aide was famously quoted as stating that Adams was a blind, bald, crippled, toothless man who had the hideous hermaphroditic character, which has neither the force and fitness of a man nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman. What the fuck is that? What does it even mean? Oh, hermaphroditic. Is he saying that he's like not quite man and not quite woman? He's blind, bald, and crippled. God damn. This is some nasty shit to say about someone. Adams fired back by calling Jefferson a mean-spirited, low-lived fellow, the son of a half-breed Indian squaw sired by a Virginia mulatto father. These are like racial insults that I didn't even know existed. Jesus Christ, you two. Adams' camp pushed further, claiming that if the godless heathen Thomas Jefferson was elected president, the country would become rife with murder, theft, rape, and adultery. Oh God, openly taught and adding that incest would be openly taught and practiced. What? How the do you teach incest? The soil will be soaked with blood and the nation black with crimes. Jefferson had already lost one election to Adams in 1796, and he was determined not to lose again. In an effort that would change American politics forever, he hired journalist James Callender to be his hatchet man and disgrace Adams in the press. Callender already had a grudge against Adams after having been sent to prison on charges of sedition for exposing corruption within the Adams White House. What the fuck, America? Like, he's a journalist and he got sent to prison because he exposed secrets from the White House. I mean, I'm really glad that things have changed substantially since the past. Snowden. Adams was a Federalist, and a popular slogan among Federalists during Adams's time in office was millions for defense, but not 1 cent for tribute. This saying was made famous by Maryland Senator Robert Goodloe Harper in connection to France's attempts to demand monetary tribute for their part in helping the colonists achieve victory during the American Revolution. Tribute sounds like something like Age of Empires. Guys, it's the modern day, I mean, it's relatively modern day tribute. They're not kings. I mean, maybe they were in France at that point. But the point is, America wouldn't be paying this shit. They'd just be like, f*** you, France. I mean, thanks for your help, but also f*** off. Other than changing millions to billions, the nation's foreign policy hasn't really changed since then. But by exploiting the slogan's prevalence in the public consciousness, Callender was able to publish articles that would convince the voting public that Adams was going to declare war against France for their extortion attempts. He also enjoyed calling Adams a tyrant and referring to him as a miniature version of King George III, who stood nearly a full foot taller than Adams. This was all ridiculous and pretty controversial, but the Federalists had one last trick up their sleeve. It was a bold play, and one that was only possible because of how slowly information traveled back then. The Federalists decided to just start telling people, hey, don't bother voting for Jefferson because he's dead. The entire campaign between Adams and Jefferson was a brutal affair that should still be considered shocking by today's standards. But after all of that mudslinging, you may be wondering who among the presidential candidates emerged victorious. The answer is none of them. Thanks to the idiotic electoral college system, it was a f***ing tie.
Thank you so much for wasting my motherfucking time.
Today's video is brought to you by Surfshark. Look, accessing the internet can be dangerous. There's all sorts of bad actors out there. They want to steal your information. They're going to break into your bank account, steal all your money. This is like, it's one of those genuine things where you hear about this and you're like, it's not going to happen to me. I was reading just today about some woman who, someone conned her into, giving £8,000 of her money from a bank account. And I'm like, what's going on? This is insane. But Surfshark, they help keep you safe. Look, if you're browsing that dodgy coffee shop internet or whatever, don't log into your bank account unless you've got a VPN running. Unless, specifically, you've got Surfshark VPN running. They'll keep you safe. I promise. Can I promise that? Not a guarantee. Look, they use military-grade encryption, so all your important stuff stays private and secure. If you activate the kill switch feature, I haven't done that. I should do that. It basically means that if you accidentally disconnect from your VPN, it'll also disconnect you from the internet, keeping malicious people away from your data. I can't believe I haven't switched that on, because it's like, I leave all the tabs open and my email, and then I'll connect to the Wi-Fi. My Surfshark VPN will connect, but it always happens a few seconds later. But if I use that kill switch, then it would mean none of my data's unencrypted, which would probably be a really smart thing to do. In fact, when I'm done here, I'm going to go turn that on. I don't know, I haven't yet. It's done. Surfshark blocks more than 1 million malicious websites and phishing attempts for extra security. Plus, they let you explore the virtual world with more than 3,200 servers in 100 different countries and bypass those annoying geo restrictions so you can watch. Well, Netflix is always the example I go to, but there's plenty of others. You can also spoof your GPS on Android, which is cool. Protect yourself online and get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deal/blaze and enter the promo code BLAZE for 83% off and 3 extra months for free. And now back to today's video. Thank you, Surfshark. I know that people often feel like their vote doesn't matter, but for the first time in only 2 times in American history, their votes officially didn't matter. The presidency was instead decided by the House of Representatives, with each state being given 1 vote. By a vote of 8-6, the godless pro-incest candidate won. Taking all those claims at face value, are we, Kevin? Callender expected to be greatly rewarded for his contributions, but instead he was sent to jail for slander. It turns out that trying to influence an election by publishing lies is a crime that America used to take very seriously. It's just the number of lies, fake news is crazy. It's everywhere. After a year in prison, Callender was released, but he didn't feel that President Jefferson properly paid him back for his contributions. As vengeance, he published a series of articles revealing the truth about Jefferson's relationship with his slave Sally Hemings and the 5 children that they had together. This time, he wasn't jailed for slander, because for that to have happened, Jefferson would need to prove that the story was a lie, and thanks to DNA testing from 1998, the 200-year-old rumors were finally confirmed to be true. Daisy Girl. The first televised political campaign ads began in 1952, and they all focused on positive messages that people could get behind. After the assassination of JFK, when Lyndon Johnson became president, he decided to take his campaign in a different direction. In the 1964 presidential campaign between Johnson and Republican Barry Goldwater, Johnson decided that he was going to play dirty and air the first televised attack ads. Oh, you've opened the floodgates, Lyndon. What have you done? In his defense, Goldwater made it really easy. This was taking place shortly after the Cuban Missile Crisis, where 90% of Americans feared nuclear war was possible and 38% believed that it was imminent. Oh my lord. Like, people look back on this time, I feel like, with these rose-tinted glasses, like 50s and 60s, especially like America, prosperous, people getting rich, they had all nice big cars and shit. It's like, you know, Mad Men sort of thing going on. And it's like, yeah, but it was the past. Remember, it was the worst. And they all feared they were about to get wiped out by nuclear missiles. Which is not something that I have to deal with. Like, it's not an existential crisis that I have every day. I'm probably not going to get nuked, which is nice. Like most Americans, Johnson didn't want nuclear war. Goldwater, on the other hand, was more like a cartoon caricature of a Republican than an actual person. He wanted to cut social programs, increase military aggression. What are you running on? I want to be more aggressive in the military. We should have taken more countries over by now. I have no idea what he sounds like because he lost. And maybe dropped some nukes on Vietnam while he was at it. His campaign slogan was, "In your heart, you know he's right." To be fair, that statement was true. He was right. He was so far right. He was so far right that he probably thought of Strom Thurmond as that liberal from South Carolina. I don't know who that guy is, and I get the feeling I'm better off not knowing who he is. Johnson fired back with the counter slogan, "In your guts, you know he's nuts," which is pretty cute. Good job there. If it was light-hearted ribbing like this, then things would have been fine. Instead, he was going to take his attacks against Goldwater to the extreme with a TV spot to air during the NBC Monday movie. Oh my god, I get the feeling it's going to be intense. Even though he never mentioned Goldwater by name in any of the ads, his intention was clear. The Daisy Girl ad aired on September the 7th, 1964. Hey, is this the one where a nuclear bomb goes off? I feel like I've heard of this, and if I've heard of it, it must have been pretty intense. The ad began with an image of a 3-year-old girl sitting in a field pulling petals off a daisy while attempting to count them. She counts up to 5, then 7, then 6, then 6 again before going up to 8. It's completely adorable, but as she stumbles trying to remember what comes after 9, a booming voice begins counting down from 10. I have seen this, and it's terrifying. The little girl looks up and the image freezes, zooming in on her eye until the screen goes completely black as the countdown reaches 0. That's when the footage of a nuclear explosion appeared on everyone's TV screens. Me, dude. Johnson recorded a voiceover for the nuclear devastation in which he said, "These are the stakes, to make a world in which all of God's children can live or to go into the dark. We must either love each other or we must die. Vote for President Johnson on November the 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home." The complaints coming in lit up the White House switchboard and a radio station giving away Taylor Swift concert tickets. What? Oh, like a radio station. I was like, that seems out of place. And it's because I read a like as an and, which obviously would make no sense whatsoever because Taylor Swift is modern day and young, definitely not alive at this time. At first, Johnson was surprised by the outrage over the ad. Then he was pleased. Then he decided that he wanted to air the commercial again because he had zero chill. Fortunately, his press secretary was able to talk him out of it, and one of the most famous political ads ever was only aired a single time. Even though the Daisy Girl spot and Johnson's entire negative ad campaign were highly controversial and elicited tons of complaints, he was able to still win the election. He won the Electoral College with 486 votes to 52. Good lord. It's a landslide. I don't know how Electoral College works, but that seems like dominant, carrying 44 states and seizing the largest percentage of the popular vote since 1820. Holy shit. Though some people chalk this up to the fear-based tactics that Johnson employed, I'd suggest that he likely won the election in spite of this, not because of it. Because people didn't really like Johnson's use of attack ads, but they still weren't going to vote for the guy that was on record as saying that he would drop nukes on Vietnam. Why would you field that guy? Like someone who's going to get so destroyed. At least field someone who's like a little more, not insane.
I am crazier.
That's not something to be fucking proud of.
Vote leave. Oh God, is this a Brexit thing? When it came to Brexit and the Vote Leave campaign, there was a lot of controversial stuff. Fear-mongering, statements that could be considered dodgy but at best were actually just outright lies, and of course a healthy dose of nationalism and xenophobia. But as controversial as all of that is in theory, that's pretty standard for political discourse. However, there was one thing that Vote Leave did that is equally parts genius and illegal. Okay, the ad campaign wasn't technically illegal, but they went beyond their advertising spending cap and lied about it, so it became illegal. Step 1 was to offer people £50 million. No strings attached, just click a Facebook link and you could win £50 million. It was a very serious offer, and Vote Leave even took out an insurance policy to ensure that they could pay out the prize money. Everyone who clicked on the link had an equal chance of winning the money, and it was possible that every single person could have actually won the money.
Don't do it. No.
What? What are you talking about? Okay, fine, there was one string attached. To win the money, you had to correctly guess the results of all 51 games in the 2016 European Football Challenge. It was absolutely possible to win. What has this got to do with Brexit? But the odds anyone would do so were approximately 1 in 5 sextillion, or possibly septillion. My eyes kept glazing over trying to count all the zeros. Either way, nobody was going to ever win that money. But they were going to allow Vote Leave to harvest all of that sweet, sweet Facebook data for use in targeted ad campaigns. Are you kidding me? That actually happened? That is sketchy as Was the person an animal lover? Here's an ad featuring Spanish bullfighters saying to stop animal abuse. Or was leaving the EU going to suddenly make Spain rethink their views on bullfights and ban the practice nationwide? Well, of course not. But there's no room for that level of basic logic in political discourse. Perhaps the person whose data was harvested was an elderly person. It is Facebook, so it's pretty good odds. Older voters were concerned with the amount of money that Britain sent to the EU, and by virtue of being old, they were at greater risk of death. Vote Leave could combine both of these concerns into a single ad, stating that every week Britain was sending £350 million to the EU, enough for the National Health Service to build a new hospital every week. That sounds not true. That sounds not true at all. The £350 million figure was thrown around a lot, and it was also highly controversial as there was no data to back it up. The actual figure was closer to £250 million each week. That's still a lot, though, to be fair. That is a lot of money going to the EU. That still sounds like a lot, it does, but given how leaving the EU would affect trade, it was likely going to cost the nation more money overall to leave rather than stay. Despite Vote Leave's many controversial moves, they achieved success, and the Brexit vote passed. But they found themselves on the business end of a 9-month-long investigation that uncovered the campaign finance crimes. But too late, suckers, the votes are already counted, and there's no takesy-backsies.
Wait.
The most brutal attack ad in American history. Representative Paul Gosar from Arizona is no stranger to controversy. His list of shenanigans is far too long to detail, but one of his more recent adventures involved posting a video clip of the anime Attack on Titan, in which his own head was poorly edited onto the head of the main character, who then killed Joe Biden and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This action got him censored and removed from his House committee assignments. Yeah, dude, you can't be making pictures of yourself murdering the president. That's not okay. You're going to get in trouble. So a man who is prone to controversy posted a video that was at best a poorly edited and unfunny clip, and at worst a veiled threat of violence. What could he have done that would qualify as potentially the most brutal attack ad ever? Actually, nothing. It was what his opponent did. The commercial started off pretty typically for an attack ad. You had a bunch of regular people talking about how Paul Gosar didn't care about the plights of people in rural Arizona. They talk about things like healthcare, social security, and sustainable water policies for rural communities in Arizona. For the first 40 seconds or so, it's entirely unremarkable, but then there's the twist. Normally in a political ad, the people will say, I'm so-and-so and I support so-and-so, which is exactly what happened here. One by one, the people in the commercial identified themselves. My name is Tim Gosar, David Gosar, Grace Gosar, Joan Gosar, Gaston Gosar, Jennifer Gosar, Paul Gosar is my brother, and I wholeheartedly endorse Dr. David Brill for Congress. Yes, Paul Gosar has 9 brothers and sisters, and 6 of them appeared in a commercial pleading for people to vote him out of office. Wait, what? I was like, I had it twisted in my mind. I was like, I must have misread that. because they must be in his ad. But no, his own family are like, no, not this guy. Not this guy. He's got secrets. Their plan failed, and Paul won re-election. Despite being known for controversy, he actually handled this commercial really well, writing in a tweet, "You can't pick your family. We all have crazy aunts and relatives, etc., and my family is no different. I hope they find peace in their hearts and let go all the hate. To the 6 angry Democrat gusars, see you at Mum and Dad's house." Oh my god, dude, no. Oh, that is savage. His family f***ing savaged him. He must be horrible.
This is why Mom doesn't fucking love you!
It was a surprisingly classy reply from a particularly classless individual. I can just imagine the happy conversations they had a few weeks later at Thanksgiving while passing around a heaping bowl of sweet potato and marshmallow. Oh, I don't even know what to say to that. It's savage, dude. Thank you for watching.